This is the story of how love is blind turned into debt is forever. I gave Sarah everything, my future, my savings, and my trust to get her through college. She repaid me by writing me into her deadbeat ex-husband's $90,000 debt. She thought I was stupid. But when she realized what I did next, she wasn't just broke, she was homeless. Here's what happened. Now, before we jump into the details, tell me in the comments, what city are you watching us from? And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button right now to join our community of true revenge story lovers. Protagonist's voice, Sarah's victim, male voice from here on. My name is Alex, and I want to be brutally honest with you. When I tell this story, I don't want you to just hear about the betrayal. I want you to understand the financial and emotional architecture that was meticulously constructed and then brutally dismantled. I am a financial analyst. My life is built on logic, stability, and calculated risks. I pride myself on seeing patterns, on predicting outcomes, yet I walked straight into the most devastating emotional and monetary trap of my entire career. I never in a million years thought I would be the protagonist in a story of this kind of betrayal and cold, hard revenge. Yet, here we are. I met Sarah 3 years ago. It wasn't some grand, cinematic encounter. It was at a local coffee shop near the financial district. I was working on a complex portfolio, and she was studying, surrounded by textbooks, nursing a cold coffee. She was beautiful, yes, but what drew me in was the sheer exhaustion in her eyes. I later learned she was working 2 demanding, minimum-wage jobs just to barely make rent while trying to figure out how to pay for her last 2 years of university. Her ambition was palpable, her struggle was real, and my heart, the part of me that usually stayed locked away behind spreadsheets, ached for her. I felt like I was her knight in shining armor, ready to clear the path for her success. This emotional vulnerability, this immediate need to fix her life, was my first and most profound mistake. I let my ego and my heart override my financial prudence. Our relationship developed quickly, fueled by late-night talks about her future and my successful past. Within 6 months, we were inseparable, discussing everything from potential retirement plans to what kind of dog we'd eventually get. That's when I saw the paperwork. A monstrous pile of student loan documents, deferment forms, and collections notices. The total was around $45,000, and the compounding interest rates were absolutely crippling her ability to breathe. It was a dark cloud over every conversation we had about the future. I remember her crying one night, admitting she was considering dropping out because the debt felt insurmountable. As a financial analyst, the math was simple. Paying off the principal now would save her hundreds of thousands in the long run. The emotional math was also simple. I was deeply in love, and I wanted to be the hero, the man who gave her a fresh start. I made the decision. I told her I would clear her remaining tuition and loans. The look on her face was a masterpiece of human emotion, pure, unadulterated relief and joy. She cried, she hugged me so tightly I thought my ribs would crack, and she promised me, solemnly, that she would spend the rest of her life making it up to me. She swore I was her savior, her rock, the only man who ever truly believed in her. In that moment, I believed her with every fiber of my being. This is the point where the technical setup for her ultimate betrayal began. To simplify the massive wire transfers, the subsequent tax forms for her student loan interest deduction, and because we were planning a future, I began to share my sensitive personal and financial information with her. I gave her access to several of my smaller accounts, provided her with my social security number for tax filing purposes, and shared my banking details. It felt safe. We were partners. We were a team. We were in love, right? This level of blind trust was the bomb I willingly handed her. The first year after clearing her debt was euphoric. She was focused, she was graduating, and the financial stress was gone. But slowly, subtly, things began to shift. The sweet, ambitious Sarah I fell for began to disappear, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. She started requesting more expensive things, designer clothes not just for networking events, but for every day, a much more expensive apartment closer to campus, and elaborate trips to celebrate her hard work. My internal financial alarm bells were going off, but I silenced them. I rationalized it. I was the successful boyfriend. I could afford it. I deserved to spoil her. But the shift was more than just materialistic. She started to exhibit a chilling distance, a new level of paranoia, especially when the subject of our joint finances came up. She would get fiercely defensive, quickly change the subject to her career, or get exceptionally sweet and seductive, which was always a huge red flag in retrospect. I remember one conversation where I asked her about a $5,000 withdrawal from one of the small shared accounts, and she snapped, accusing me of micromanaging her life, saying, "Is your love conditional on my spending, Alex?" I backed down instantly. The fear of losing her was already a weapon she was wielding expertly. The true nightmare began 3 months ago. I came home from a particularly grueling day at the office to a thick, official-looking white envelope from a major national credit card company. It was addressed to Alex and Sarah, joint account holders. My blood ran cold. I had never opened a joint credit card with her. I knew instantly, before even tearing the paper, that something was profoundly wrong. My hands were shaking as I ripped the envelope open. The balance was an astronomical $92,345.50. The previous account holder's name listed in the consolidation details? Marcus K., Sarah's ex-husband. The deadbeat she swore was just a co-parenting friend for their shared pet custody. The paperwork inside confirmed the horror that was rapidly unfolding in my mind. Sarah had somehow used the sensitive personal information I so carelessly gave her to not only open a new joint line of credit under our names, but had also proceeded to consolidate and transfer the massive, delinquent debt of her ex-husband into our shared financial liability. The date on the transfer? Just 2 weeks after I paid off her student loans. She had been planning this for over a year, seeing me only as the solution to 2 massive debt problems, hers and Marcus's. My generosity was not appreciated. It was simply the access code to a much bigger financial scam that would have bankrupted me. The confrontation that followed was not one of tearful confession and apology. It was pure, icy malice. I asked her, my voice low and shaking with betrayal, how she could commit such a calculated act of fraud. She didn't deny it. She just looked at me with those cold, distant eyes and offered the killer line. Marcus was going to jail for tax evasion and credit fraud. This was the only way to save him. Besides, you're the financial guru, Alex. You'll figure it out. It's just money. It's just money. That phrase reverberated in my mind, the complete, utter destruction of every ounce of trust, respect, and love I had invested. She wasn't just betraying me, she was financially crippling me to save a man she claimed she hated. At that moment, I knew I couldn't just sue her. Lawsuits take years, drain millions in fees, and the debt collectors were already calling my office line. I had to think like a seasoned financial predator, not a victim. I had to use my training, my logic, and my unique financial knowledge, the very skills she had tried to exploit, against her. I put on my calmest, most understanding face, told her I understood the pressure she was under, and that together, we would work it out. I even hugged her and told her I loved her. She bought the performance completely. She thought she had won the financial lottery. Revenge is a dish best served cold, and I was about to lower the temperature on her life to absolute zero. My revenge plan was implemented with the precision of a corporate hostile takeover. Phase 1 was absolute financial decontamination. I immediately changed every password, closed every single joint bank account, except the one tied to the new debt, which I had to legally isolate, and quietly refinanced my condo, transferring the title completely out of any potential marital or joint liability, making it legally untouchable. She didn't notice a single transaction. She was too busy thinking about her new debt-free life with Marcus. Phase 2 involved the apartment we shared. We were living in a high-end rental that I paid for monthly. The lease was in both our names, which Sarah thought protected her. But I had inserted a little-known clause myself when we signed it, a mutual termination clause allowing either party to unilaterally terminate the lease with 30 days' notice if proven financial fraud had occurred between the tenants. Since I had undisputed evidence of her illegal debt consolidation and identity theft, I had my perfect legal out. I worked closely with my lawyer and the building management to prepare the documentation. Phase 3 was the legal and credit assassination. I filed a confidential, detailed report with all 3 major credit bureaus, providing every piece of evidence that Sarah had used my identity fraudulently. Her credit score, which had been flawless thanks to the $45,000 I paid off, plummeted over 400 points overnight. This instantly meant she couldn't sign a new lease, couldn't open a new credit card, and couldn't even rent a car. I didn't tell her any of this. I let the silence build the tension. The day I enacted the final step, the day of reckoning, I told Sarah I was leaving for a critical 3-week business trip to Tokyo. She acted disappointed, but was clearly thrilled. More time alone with her phone and, I suspected, Marcus. I drove 10 blocks away, parked my car in a hidden spot, and waited. I had already faxed the signed termination document to the landlord, provided the final proof of fraud, and paid a substantial penalty fee to invoke the mutual termination clause. An official eviction notice was posted on the apartment door precisely 1 hour after I left. When Sarah returned late that evening, she discovered the lights were off. The security code didn't work. The main lock had been changed. There was a bright yellow, official sheriff's notice taped to the door: lease terminated. Immediate eviction. Her few personal belongings, mostly the expensive clothes and accessories I had bought her, were neatly placed in garbage bags on the curb. She stood there, frozen in shock, her face pale under the streetlight. She started screaming, calling the landlord, who simply pointed to the uniformed police officer I had quietly alerted about the situation, mentioning the unlawful financial activity at the residence. She called my phone hysterically, 19 times in a row. I finally picked up on the 20th call. Her voice was raw with panic and desperation. She was crying about her clothes, her papers, her life being on the street. I kept my voice dead calm, emotionless. Did you really think I wouldn't notice, Sarah? Did you really think I would just inherit $90,000 of some deadbeat's debt? You were supposed to be my partner. You chose Marcus and his debt. Now you get to deal with him and the streets. You needed an education? Here it is, a financial lesson you will never forget. I then sent a single, final text message to her, the ultimate confirmation of her defeat. It was a screenshot of the canceled lease agreement and a bank transfer receipt showing I had paid off the minimal interest on the $90,000 debt so it wouldn't hurt my score, with the memo line reading, "Welcome to your new life. Enjoy the consequences." I blocked her number right after and drove away. She lost her home, her education funded by me, and her credit score, the only tool she had left to financially manipulate others. My revenge was complete. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about the principle. Never confuse a good man's generosity with stupidity. Never treat a partnership like a financial transaction. Justice was served, and she got exactly what she deserved. Tell me what you think of my revenge in the comments below. And if you believe she got exactly what she deserved, please make sure to like the video and share it with a friend who needs to hear this story. Thank you for listening.